Sarnia-Lambton Daily for Friday, April 24th. Good evening, I'm Gerry Lee. The COVID-19 outbreak at one local institution has been declared over, but there is a new one to deal with. Lambton Meadowview Villa in Petrolia had one staff member test positive for the virus, but there have been no further positive cases since then. While the outbreak has been lifted, restrictions and precautions remain in place, just as they are at any other long-term care facility. Meanwhile, Vision Nursing Home in Sarnia had two staff members test positive for the virus, so an outbreak has now been declared there. Lambton Public Health is now going through its process to track down who the staff members may have been in contact with. Overall, 164 positive cases of COVID-19 have been diagnosed in Sarnia-Lambton since this all began, up 5 from yesterday's update. Well, as this pandemic has gone on, we've seen various industries, organizations impacted, the business sector as well. But one area that certainly sees a lot of tourism that would not see tourism right now, but still seeing the truck traffic is, of course, at the bridge. And the operator of the Bluewater Bridge Duty Free Shop, Gerry Lee, joins me now. And Gerry, first things first, how are things going right now? Because we're all dealing with challenging, difficult times. What's it like there right now?
Yeah, so it's obviously very, very different than anything we've ever experienced before. The border is closed right now, the Canadian-U.S. border, to only essential traffic. So the traffic has essentially just become commercial traffic now, well, especially at our border crossing, with very, very few cars, unless they're essential traffic heading across to the States. So it's pretty well all commercial drivers right now that we see here.
So what are you seeing in terms of, I'm assuming the big thing right now is just being able to provide a place for the truck drivers as they're heading into the U.S. for a place to stop?
Exactly. I think what we're seeing right now is that our commercial drivers are, finding fewer and fewer places to be able to stop and rest, get food and refreshments, have clean washrooms, and pick up the supplies they need. And the duty-free shops along the Canadian border have always been, the last point before they cross. Is sort of always bringing that sort of reliable stopping point for them, where they know that they can rest before they head into the United States, or if on the way back from Canada, they can also do the same thing. So yeah, they look forward to being able to stop here. But unfortunately, with the pandemic, duty-free shops, the Canadian duty-free shops, have, a few of them have had to close. It's obviously less traffic, so it's been a struggle to maintain, enough sales to keep open for many stores. So it's been a very big challenge, like every business is facing right now.
And are we talking about the stuff too that in a normal situation we take for granted? But I've got to think it's just even simple things like a clean washroom, pop water, a snack. I've got to think right now we're looking at just the basics.
Yeah, just the basics for these guys. I mean, there's obviously drive-throughs, pickup for restaurants are still available, I think, in most places. But the problem with these guys is they can't park in most of these places. They can't drive their cars through drive-throughs like we can. So there's only a few places they can choose from, and some of these places, I gather from talking to some of these drivers, are not even letting them use washrooms. So these poor guys have been on the road for days, hours, and they need a rest. And so just being able to find these places is just for them, it's I've had quite a few drivers thank my staff and myself personally just for remaining open during this pandemic.
What is the staff situation right now? Because of course, with having so much fewer traffic, obviously we don't have the travelers, the tourism side of things. How has it been as the operator to balance that out of keeping things open, but at the same time knowing it's going to be very limited traffic?
Yeah, it's a very big challenge. To try and keep enough staff on hand. Most importantly, to keep our staff safe, that they feel they're working in a safe environment like many other stores are doing right now. But also make sure the customer is being looked after. So it's as big a challenge as I've ever faced in my life, and I think most of the retailers or people would say that today. It's a day-to-day challenge.
And as you go through, I've got to think, looking at, I've obviously been in the stores, many people have, and you look at the product that's there, and I've got to think a lot of the product, is it sort of, I'll say, on hold right now, because it's probably a lot of items that your traffic aren't necessarily looking for right now. It's just those basic essentials.
That's right. I think we're basically, we're down to just so limited limited, demand for items because as people, less different types of travelers. Obviously, you're not as selling as many of these goods. So, it definitely a challenge there as well. Just trying to keep everything on the shelf.
Has it been a little bit of a tug of war, I'll say, mentally to decide, can you stay open versus the need to stay open? Has it been a bit of a challenge through this?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's because we've tried to be, as as I said before, we've tried to keep as much staff on hand as possible, but obviously with the amount of sales dropping so significantly, with no cars available, it's obviously a huge challenge to keep open and to keep paying the bills, and utilities. All these things are still these payments still have to be made. But we really feel like we did our best to we're doing our best to try and stay open for our commercial drivers. I mean, some of these guys have been customers for many years here, and we just feel an obligation to try and keep open for these guys as long as possible here. But it has been a challenge. It's some days you are literally trying to find people to work, and and that changes day by day. I mean, so it's a day-to-day challenge for sure.
Obviously, you're looking at very limited number of people, so that helps with physical distancing, social distancing, but I would assume other steps have been put in place just to make sure the staff is safe and, of course, the interactions with the customers.
Absolutely. That's our number one priority, is our staff, to make sure that they're safe. We've put up shielding, gloves, where the sanitization procedures are even more increased from a high level they were before. Just constant attention to keeping things wiped down at all times. Same for the customers, to make sure that when they come in, you're giving them sanitization stations, encouraging them obviously to use them, and to make sure that everybody's distant, or separated, I should say, while they're at work, and while they're in the store. Sorry. So that's my hour to hour, minute to minute priority here.
Has it been a challenge in terms of those items that you are going through and they're buying, in terms of supply chains? Has there been any challenges when you need to restock those items that are being picked up?
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely been a challenge, to find out when things are arriving. So obviously, a lot of our suppliers, they're worried themselves. Their orders are going down. They're cutting back on in terms of their on-hand inventories. So, and it is definitely every day there's a different situation that comes up where you're looking for stuff and trying to make sure it's arriving on time. But I think all businesses are going through that. I don't think it's just particular to ours. I think every business is facing these obstacles right now.
Gerry, give some background. How long have you been operating the store here? And obviously this is unprecedented times, but has there ever been anything else that brought this, even anything close to these kind of challenges?
Yeah, we've been here quite a long time, and we went through 9/11. We went through the 2008 financial crisis. We've gone through various border issues, but we've never ever seen anything like this pandemic, in terms of the affecting almost every aspect of activity that we can think of here. It's definitely been a learning experience that you just try and get better at doing every single day. I mean, it's just, I don't think, at least I haven't seen, there's no handbook for this as far as I can see. It's just, you have to figure it out and do the best you can day to day.
Have there been times through this where you just think, hey, it would just be easier to close up shop and, we'll come back when we're ready to come back, but the other side of you says, no, I can't do that?
Yeah, unfortunately, there have been a few duty-free shops on the Canadian side that have had to make that decision to close, and it's unfortunate. I think every store has had their unique circumstances, so I don't hold that against anybody about having to close. I mean, it's some ports just don't have the wherewithal to the amount of traffic to stay open, or the type of traffic to stay open. And whether there are particular situations, said they could or not. So But in our case, it's not easy, but we're trying to stay open as long as we can, and we're working together with the Bluewater Bridge community here. I think we've all made it a goal of ours to continue to offer as many services to our commercial drivers as we can, and on a constant basis here. So it's sort of all these partners here working together, trying to keep us all open.
Gerry, let's leave on a positive note. Give me a quick story, just a quick one you can pass along, or a little anecdote of that positive feedback you got from someone who just appreciated the fact that you were a place they could probably even just make a quick pit stop.
Yeah, just I've had a couple of customers, as I said before, just while I'm on the floor, and they search me out actually, and because they know they ask for who the manager is, and they come up to me. And these are commercial drivers, and you just say thank you so much to you and your staff for staying open, for just giving me a chance to park my truck for a few minutes and use the washroom and just take a break. And I think in one particular circumstances, one gentleman had been on the road for, gosh, I don't know how many hours or days maybe, and he couldn't find a place to even get a cup of coffee. I think this was on the weekend. And he was just so appreciative that he could just take a break and take a rest, because I think these guys are just being put under such a strain right now in terms of getting all these things delivered to Canada. So it's good to feel appreciated that people are recognizing that we are trying to remain open for people. So.
No, it's great to hear, and certainly we pass along our best wishes to you, the staff there, and hopefully we can get back to normal in the very short time, in the short future. But for now, let's all stay safe, and good to see you, Gerry.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Take care.
There's Gerry Lee, the operator of the Bluewater Bridge Duty Free Store, still dealing with the truck traffic and definitely essential workers needing some assistance there. Back with more in a moment on Sarnia-Lambton Daily on your TV. Welcome back to Sarnia-Lambton Daily. Well, it is Friday, so we go to the Home Office in Petrolia and check in with Sarnia-Lambton MPP Bob Bailey. And Bob, wearing red as we both are. I've got the red tie, you've got the red shirt on, as of course wearing red for the victims of the tragedy in Nova Scotia. And I'm sure while it is out of province, it hits everybody. And I've got to think you and your colleagues at Queen's Park have been chatting about that as well.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks, Terry, and to your good evening to your viewers at your TV. Yeah, I think we're all Nova Scotians now, as a number of people have said. The Premier spoke about that in a number of his addresses. I know they flew the flag at Queen's Park. There's a third flagpole there for other countries or provinces or special events, and the flag went up. I think it's going to be there through the weekend, and it's in honor in memory of the victims of the tragedy in Nova Scotia last weekend. I guess it's hard to believe it's a week ago now. The times went so fast. I mean, every day runs into one into the next. But it's certainly a tragedy. I got lots of friends, I know we all do, from Nova Scotia that grew up there, moved to Ontario, and there's a number of people from Ontario that have moved to Nova Scotia. And yeah, I think it's hit everybody across the country, because of the circumstances, how it all rolled out. There'll be lots of time later for introspection and to do a follow-up, like whatever you want to call it, to look into could there have been things done differently, could have been handled differently, the talk about the emergency alert, should it have been used? It obviously should have been. It might have saved some lives. And so, yeah, it's that's why I've got red on today, and I know you do too. And I encourage people, if they like, that are your viewers, to go to my website, because we have all the details about the event tonight and in the days to come.
So let's shift gears a little bit for you. I know I've got to think a lot of conference calls and teleconferences and everything. Yeah. You've probably done more teleconferences and video conferences in the last 6 weeks than probably the last 6 years.
Yeah, I have got to be comfortable with Skype, with Zoom. I didn't even know what Zoom was. I'll be honest, about 3 weeks ago, I'd never heard of Zoom. And so we're using that every day. It's a great way for our caucus to meet, because we have anywhere from 60 to 70 people on a call, and you can see each person that's on there, and then they push a button and they can speak. Not everybody speaks at once. They mute all the mics. It's actually quite a great way to do a virtual meeting. I might look at doing a virtual town hall one of these days, when we get a little further into this. If we're, the lockdown right now is extended till May the 6th. but I think the Premier is going to make some announcements probably this weekend about maybe looking at some minor relief. But I mean, they want to be very careful, because the last thing we want to do is get too far out in front of this. And if we ever had to scale it back, it would be really, people would be very, I think, be resentful of that everything they've given up for the last 3 weeks, I think since, it's just about a month today, March 24th, I think, 23rd, I think, the province and the city of Toronto and the rest of the municipalities locked themselves down, and everybody's given up a lot. I'm just going to pick that phone up and hang it up.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
Got it. Hey, you got to deal with. We know it's a busy time. You've got calls coming in as well. Let me ask you quickly. You talk about caucus meetings through video conferencing now. I know you can't get into specifics of what's discussed there, but in generalities, what sort of topics are covered during the caucus meetings?
Well, we talk about, first of all, the Premier comes on and he talks and gives a little overview, kind of a pep talk, I guess you could, because even the MPPs get, this won't be no secret, they get kind of, they're not used to being in their house and locked up, because they're used to being, I mean, you wouldn't be in this business if you weren't a bit of a, what would you say, an extrovert. And so a lot of them have had to, work from home, and they're not used to, even their staff are working remotely from their homes, in my case, I know. And it's just a different kind of lifestyle. And the Premier, he wants to come on, he gives us a good, make you, feel good, you're doing a great job, and thank you for the work you're doing. And then, he usually goes off, and then the different cabinet ministers will come on and give a, an update of what they're doing, health minister lots of days, and then the minister of long-term care. And then we get a chance to ask questions, pose questions either by text or verbally. And it goes usually an hour and a half. I think the longest one I have is an hour and a half. But I know the cabinet meets pretty much every day, and lots of times for a minimum of 3 hours online, like a similar, like calls like that. And sometimes longer calls, sometimes twice a day if there's real hot issues. So everybody's getting used to that. So, and I think, there's a little bit of back and forth between the members because, like I say, we're used to working together every day when the House is sitting. You spend a lot of time with your colleagues, either in the House or, in the lobby or in the caucus lounge. You see each other every day at breakfast, or at lunch. We're used to seeing each other, and so this Zoom is a great feature, a great way to reconnect. And you see all the ones that are growing a mustache or a beard and need a haircut, the ones that are trying to do their own grooming. And I tell you, there's some real specimens out there. But I'll be honest, my wife's cut my hair once, and I think it don't look too bad. I mean, it's the first time I've had someone other than a barber cut my hair for a long time, so she's doing a pretty good job. So we're not looking for business, though. She's the
No, it's not going to be Elizabeth Bailey's barber shop opening up in Petrolia by any means. But no, look, she's done a good job with her one client.
Okay, well, she's not going to hang her shingle out anytime soon. But yeah, so I think everybody's working. I guess I want to make sure I praise the local people here at Bluewater Health, at the nursing homes, the long-term care homes, all the frontline people, whether you're PSWs, whether they're the janitors, the people that are doing the cooking in the kitchens, and of course the nurses and doctors, and that they're doing a great job. I know it's not easy every day showing up, with this threat of this COVID-19 and taking it home to your family. I think the business community as well, and all the social service agencies have stepped up. I think that's the province, the federal government, certainly working with the province, to come up with funding to try and get us through this. I think there's an announcement today about, as I understand, I haven't seen it yet, but where the feds are going to announce help for rent for business, small business, to help with their rent. That's a big issue. A lot of them, we're really concerned. When I say we, the province, myself, others are really concerned that a number of these small businesses, if we don't help them, they won't be there. When we finally do come out of this, and we will come out of this, and we're going to consider, we want to be able to have jobs for people to go back to, and so we get to some state of normalcy. Like I say, it's hard to believe this is only a month. I think I've seen some things. This could have started as early as January or February, but no one realized the impact it was going to have. And that's another thing we'll be looking at. I'm sure there'll be lots of postmortems done on how soon we could have gone on this, and for going, hopefully never again. But if something like this happened, I'm sure there'll be a lot of lessons learned.
Is it a challenge, and you kind of touched on it a bit, to stay connected where normally, for example, a minister, you just see them in the hallway, you go down the hall, you see them at the house, you see them at the lunch table, you name it. Now, as you said, the cabinet meets every day, but for people not in cabinet, like yourself, members like that, is a little bit more of a challenge to sort of stay connected because you have that separation right now?
Yes and no, but I think I've got to give credit to all of the cabinet ministers, and we have what we call an MPP liaison. So that's for our offices or for the members themselves. We can call that person. They work directly for the minister, and the premier's told those cabinet ministers, look, you need to be responsive. Not that they wouldn't be anyway, but be very responsive to our MPPs, because they're the first line of contact to each constituency across this province. And so they've been great to get back to us. Sometimes a call right from the minister himself. I heard from how busy he is, the federal minister, the finance minister. He called me one day just out of the blue. Everything going okay, Bob? Just want to make sure. And I give him a couple of issues locally I wanted to see, and within a day, 2 days, got a call back from their direct reports, and those were alleviated. So yeah, I think they're making a conscious effort to get back to their colleagues like myself and others, when we have issues, because there are issues across the province, and every riding is different. The issues I have in Sarnia-Lambton are different than ridings in Brampton or Mississauga, and of course in the north. And we've got a number of things. This employment recovery, we have a committee that's working on that. Okay, how do we come out of this? That's led by Vic Fidelli. Monty's on that as well, Monty McNaughton. So, of course, I have lots of input with Monty, and Vic gets back to me if I raise an issue with him. So there is plans in place. There's people working every day, either in the cabinet ministers themselves or their offices. How are we going to come out of this? What's it going to look like, to hit the ground running in a few weeks, or hopefully a few weeks, not a few months.
And very quickly, we're running short on time. Yeah. Weather hasn't been great the last few days. Looks like it's going to be better this weekend. I would assume you'll be out getting your walks in around the neighborhood out there in Petrolia.
Yeah, I try to get out every day for at least 35 or 40 minutes. My doctor is very happy with that, and I think my wife is too, to get me out of the house. So that's my little bit of exercise, and I socially distance because there's nobody out and around. And if they are, they're on the other side of the street, and everybody's very, very respectful of that, of the space. And if I see neighbors talking, they're at the end of the driveway. Maybe one guy's by his garage, the other guy's out at the edge of the road. So, I think people have really, I think that's why we flattened the curve, if you can say that. And I want to applaud people in the city and out here in the county that have done their part. They seem to have, our numbers are way down here. We want to see them stay that way, and continue this practice, and we'll all get out of this at the end of the day.
Bob, good to see you. Enjoy your weekend, and we will touch base next week.
Yeah, good to see you, Terry, and of course all your viewers there at your TV. And like I say, if you have any questions, go to bobbailey.mpp.com, and we'll get back to you either through an email or a phone call.
Thank you, Bob. Have a good weekend. There's Bob Bailey, Sarnia-Lambton MPP. More to come on Sarnia-Lambton Daily on your TV. Recapping our top story tonight, Lambton Public Health has declared an outbreak at Vision Nursing Home in Sarnia after 2 staff members have tested positive for the virus. On the other hand, the outbreak at Lambton Meadowview Villa in Petrolia has been lifted. 1 staff member there had tested positive, but no other staff members or residents have tested positive since then. That's going to do it for our show tonight. We're off for the weekend, but you can check out the Your TV Sarnia Facebook and Twitter feeds for updates 7 days a week. For all of us here at Your TV, I'm Terry Doyle. Have a safe weekend. We will see you Monday.